What about other religions? There are many mansions in heaven, says Jesus in the Gospel of St. John. Does that mean that there are also many roads to heaven, all equally valid? If so, then there is quite a bit to choose from. There are several viewpoints on this issue. I'm going to discuss them all in this video. Religious truth is relative to the individual, very commonly heard. All religions are incommensurable. You cannot compare them. All religions are equal. All religions are equivalent. All religions share a common ground. All religions should form one world religion. And finally, I would say each religion is unique. Start with the first one. Truth is relative to the individual. It's called relativism. That's the philosophical position that all points of view are equally valid. All truth is relative to the individual. It's the doctrine that there are no absolute truths, for truth is always relative to some particular frame of reference, particularly religion. What is true for me may not be true for you. What do we think about this? I think it's not a valid viewpoint. Even if so, there is at least one absolute truth, the truth that all truths are supposedly relative. Ironically, relativism makes each religion absolute, its own authority in matters of truth. How could something like science be possible if all truths are relative? Truth is truth, even if you do not accept it, and untruth is untruth, even if you claim it. Then there is another viewpoint. Religions are considered incommensurable. They are all embedded in their own cultural setting. They have their own backgrounds. Ludwig Wittgenstein once promoted the idea of language games, which says deciding on issues of truth and untruth can only be done inside a game, not between games. What is true in chess is not true in checkers. I don't think that viewpoint is valid. First of all, there are converts who change religions because they have found that their new religion is better or closer to the truth. So we are able to compare religions, apparently. Besides, we can communicate with people from other religions. We can go into a debate with them, so we do understand their concepts and their thinking. Ironically, the relativism of this view makes each religion absolute. And finally, I would say there must be something that makes religions comparable. They must have something in common that makes them belong to the same category, religion, separate from others. Then there is another viewpoint that says all religions are equal. It captures only part of the truth, and together perhaps the whole truth. The famous story of two blind people who each felt a different part of an elephant. So one thought that the elephant was a trunk and the other one thought the elephant was a tail. So they had only found part of the truth. And some say something similar with religion. There is that little piece, and it's only one piece of the large puzzle. I don't think all religions are equal. The problem with the analogy we just used is that we assume there is something like an elephant, endowed with a trunk and a tail. So these two men were just blind people, not able to see the real thing. But we do assume there is a real thing. Declaring all religions as equal is as dubious as stating that all dogs are equal. Equal in what sense? It's very obvious that there are many differences between dogs, although they all eat dog food. Religions are definitely not equal in the sense of all being true, for there are obvious contradictions between them. They don't agree on all matters. So then some say, yeah, but at least they are equivalent. If you would weigh them, they are all worth the same. It's based on the absolute claim very often that God is the great unknown. God cannot be known by anyone, let alone any religion. He's far beyond us. Each religion describes a certain path to the same unknown, but there are various paths all leading to the same destination. So if there are many roads to heaven, it does not matter which one you take. Ultimately, all religions are equivalent in being inadequate, according to this view. What's wrong with it? Having the same reference, referring to the same God, does not entail that all religious descriptions and assumptions are equivalent. Let me use this comparison. Whether we call that object in the sky Venus or the morning star or the evening star, I know we are talking about the same referent in the sky, but still, the designation Venus is more comprehensive than morning star or evening star. It's a much better designation. Since truth is truth, even if you do not accept it, religion's conceptions may be right or they may be wrong. Only divine revelation can give us the answer we could have never come up with on our own. So what about the viewpoint then that religions all have a common ground? When we talk about dialogue of religion, we hear very often that there is some common ground in the middle of all the diversity, and the rest doesn't really matter. So we should no longer focus on the differences, but on their common ground. So what is the common ground? A good candidate could be God's transcendence. That's what these people very often claim. God is the transcendent one. But I would say, if you want dialogue between religions, you must be honest about the differences that separate them. God is also in the details. Christianity and Islam, for instance, may refer to the same God, but the way they talk about this God is very different. As the title of a recent book raises the question, is the Father of Jesus the God of Muhammad, or are they essentially different? Is there really a common ground? And then there are those people that say religion should form one world religion because we share all God's transcendence. So that is our common denominator. It doesn't really matter how we understand the divine. We are all united in faith, although our beliefs may differ, say these people. Some call this ecumenical efforts or interfaith dialogue. The idea is the same. But I would like to refer to Pope Benedict's encyclical Charity and Truth. The aim of any religious dialogue is ultimately truth. All dialogue should come to the truth, but always please with respect and love. We can and should agree to agreeably disagree. Does respect for other religions mean to let go of any truth claims? Do we have to go along to get along? Those who think so confuse respect for people with respect for beliefs. As Pope Benedict said, we have a deep respect for Muslims, but that is not the same as having a deep respect for Islam. I think we end up with saying each religion is unique. They have their own description of the transcendent, and they are very different. The way we understand God determines and penetrates everything else in life. If we say we love God, we need to know who God is. For God is also in the details. It really matters what the details are. We cannot love what we do not know. We want to know the person we love, the God we love. You must know your faith with the same precision as specialists know their fields. So also Christianity is unique. The concept of truth is at the core of all religions, and even more so the religion of Christianity. If Jesus never existed, the Word did not become flesh. If Jesus did exist but was never crucified, we were not redeemed. The Apostle Paul wrote once, "If there is no resurrection of the dead, then Christ has not been raised. If Christ has not been raised, then our preaching is in vain, and your faith is in vain." Once we start speaking about God, we begin to realize that our understandings of the divine can be very divergent. And that's why religions can be so different. I discuss this issue and many others in my most recent books that you find here. You can find more about them on wheredowecomefrom.com. It also tells you what is the table of contents of these books, and you decide whether that is what you really want to know.